small cap company becomes the only one on the planet to break and publicly disclose a major battery barrier. You should probably pay close attention because that's what HPQ Silicon did when they announced that their silicon anode batteries have shown superior energy returns compared to high grade artificial graphite. Here to talk about it, CEO Bernard Tourillon. Bernard, welcome back, my friend.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's get one thing out of the way. The Georgecom vacation press release indicator is working better than ever because there I am sitting at LAX at the lounge and I get a phone call from you that says, "Hey, you good to do an interview today?" And I said, "No, I'm at the airport. I'm in the lounge. We'll be leaving in half an hour, and I'm on my way to the next destination." And you didn't even tell me yesterday, but you reward me with a second press release that comes out today. So are you doing this on purpose, or do we have some
Yeah.
kind of cosmic connection between my business trips and vacations and your press releases?
But what's that concept of taking vacation and business trip? Come on.
Well, you're
No,
doing your best to.
it's you know, I decided to be a cheapskate and get two interviews for one, you know. So for the critics that find our 30 minutes interview painful, I say, oh, okay, so we'll do two 15 ones.
Well, Daytona Beach is sitting right over there. Okay, so
Okay.
um, let's get to this. Um, so two press releases. The big
Yeah.
one is the silicon anodes, obviously. So is this a
Mhm.
Merry Christmas to everybody? In layman's terms, how significant is this layman term? Then we're going to get some detail, but you're now up to 650 cycles. How big is this for everybody?
Well, it's a continuation how big it is. It shows that we're in the right target. It shows that we are understanding what we're doing with regard to making silicone-based anode material for batteries. So that's really important. Second point is it's sort of important even before Christmas to issue this press release, even though if it comes at an odd number of 650, it's because for those of you that know, or those of you that don't know, HPQ is in the process of applying for a potential government grant with regard to SIOX manufacturing in Canada. And in one of the questionnaire question, there was, you know, do you have any tangible demonstration of your material working? So when we filed, I believe when we filed the application, I think we were at less than 500. So I'm hoping that having more material out there, it can have an impact into it. So in addition to telling the shareholders, in addition to telling the graphite batteries we're working with or we're in discussion with, that you know we have something that's unique that can really help grow their material. We're ready to go to the next stage in those regards. So I thought it was important to issue. You know, if I get 700 between Christmas or 750 between Christmas and New Year's, there's no really, you know, no really logic of doing any press release. So, you know, the market's going to be starting to shut down. People are going to be more interested in eggnog than, you know, battery results from Bernard. So it was the time to do it.
Remind everyone the grant. How big is it that you're applying for, and what's it going to cover?
Okay, the consent it's very rare for a Canadian grant to finance R&D up to this level. We're talking about 75% of the cost, I believe, up to $4 million could be covered into that. We haven't gotten it. We're just in the applying process. We just made the first cut. Now we're making the second cut. But you know, I had conversation with university professors that understand the battery materials, and they said, you know, there's nobody doing what we're doing in Canada. So we should have a good shot, but hey, it's bureaucrats. You don't know, you don't control it. But if it's helps our case a bit, it comes into it. You know, just like when we announced the hydrogen, I was invited to a conference of specialists on hydrogen technology, and I can say at the end, everybody was pretty surprised what we have in that technology bracket. So any bit of marketing can help. You don't know how, you know, the butterfly movements are going to move into it. First of all, it's good for our shareholders to see that, you know, this is still moving in the right direction. But there's other people that can take a look at it.
Ballpark, do we know ETA for this? Is it something that the government has to make a decision before the end of 2024 or before the next budget?
It the
And
way
devil's advocate,
Yeah.
how much, given the political instability that is, enveloping Canada right now,
Mhm.
what is the chances that maybe this program goes away or gets suspended or, gets shelved or something like that?
Um, those are realities. Okay. I'd like at the minima, okay, if we don't get the money, at least to be known that we were chosen. We're the chosen few. That would go a long way. The counterpart to this is that because we now know the cost of building a pilot plant, it's just a bit like we did with Fumed Silica, building a pilot plant to do it and what it's going to take, what it's going to require. We have those costings, so we're already in discussion with other groups. So, there's a plan A, plan B, plan C in regard to getting that goal done.
And I want to talk about one quote that stood out for me. These
Mhm.
latest results validate the performance of our Gen 3 silicon based anode technology and underscores its readiness for real world application.
Mhm.
I think that's a pretty strong statement there, unless I'm more
Mhm.
reading more into it. But how ready are you for real world applications? Last time we spoke, you had a number of NDAs. I think you had said 15 or at least 15 NDAs.
Mhm.
And I'll ask you a little more about that. But how ready are you right now for real world applications? Could Georgecom, batteries call you up and say, "Hey, I use graphite and we want you in our battery. You ready to go?"
Um, we're ready to go, but as I said, we're ready to go and build a pilot plant to basically get ourselves set up for basically offtake agreement discussion. Now, what people have to realize that those batteries that we made, there you go, you can see them now, 18650s, okay, is sort of the equivalent, all right, of the fume silica sample did done at lab scale. Now, scaling this up to commercial production is a different type of situation in the sense that um in the sense that we'll be building a plant, building it. So there are some part of this technology that are known, okay? And there's some part of our technology are proprietary, but we combine them together, and it's how we combine them into it. That's why we applied for a continuous SIOX manufacturing process. And all those things put together play into it. So it's really playing into being ready for this. Like it's there's going to be a massive demand for battery material. We just don't know what's going to coming in. What was it I read this week? The Natural Graphite Association of the U.S. is asking Donald Trump to put a 900% barriers on artificial graphite made from China. Well, actually, artificial natural graphite coming into the U.S. So that basically means that as those costs of graphite is going to go through the roof, there's going to be a need for a ready to use material that can replace a bit of the graphite in the batteries and by default get you a better battery. So this is where it plays well into the overall. So if you look at the overall picture of what the market looks like, it's there. It's really interesting.
Is is the phone? I'm going to ask the question I always like to ask you, because you go on further to say this positions HPQ and Novasium as key players in next generation energy solution.
Hmm.
Um, is the phone ringing further off the hook? The 650. I mean, since the 500 has more phones ringing off the hook, and does this
No,
650
come on.
drive things further?
The press release was issued what yesterday? It's not gonna drive it instantaneously. People that know about us want to continue discussion. It's just that we're entering a time where around the world people are gradually saying, don't bother me, and it's not. It has nothing to do with our greater results. It's just the way it
Okay.
is. So there are some very interesting lead that I have to go through in advance. There's been some very interesting news that came out about other people getting grant for advancing their graphite-based material, and that's a positive for HPQ, okay? Because we don't replace graphite, we make graphite better. So this is where all those issues are playing well into it, and we're gonna be in a much stronger position in 2025 as we start our plan to build a pilot plant, starting with material, we're doing it, and then signing probably multiple LOI or MOUs with graphite players that want to come and work with us. and even battery manufacturers, and even, we could even have some requests for some people to ask us to make some, even though it's going to be sort of like white label, but have some of our own batteries for them to test them in their own physical application to see, oh, right, this really looks really interesting, and then let's work together on building this. So all these things are coming into place.
Yeah, and I didn't mean to imply that the press release came out yesterday and the phone's ringing, but you did put out the 500 cycles quite a while ago. And
Mhm.
one more thing I'm going to pick out says our battery material offers practical solutions for market participants, driving the growing interest we're seeing across industry. So it seems like it's
Yeah,
again, am I reading too much into it? But seems like you're trying to, telegraph that there's a growing interest. I mean, you're saying it right there.
yeah.
Is that coming from the 15 NDA guys? Is that coming from new parties that may have been calling after the 500 cycles press release? Where's that where's that growing interest coming from?
It's coming from everywhere, because more and more people realize that what we've done as results are unheard of. And the good news is we're starting to line up ourselves to get Gen 4 ready. And I was having preliminary conversation with my team, and they're already starting to think even further down the line of those issues. Now we're just at the point where, okay, we got this down packed. Let's hope that the preferred strategy would get the government grant to build the SIOX plant, because that basically means that it's not free money, but it's not dilution. So that will allow us to build it. If not, we will have finance. There are financing that are showing a lot of interest in what we're doing, that like what we have, like what we've built, like what we've demonstrated over 2024. Like the fact that we've sort of executed and came up with a series of good news to demonstrate a progression toward reaching the end goal. So those are all very positive events as we come to the end of the year.
Your your press release says that you delivered a cumulative energy return 30% greater
Mhm.
than graphite, than the graphite benchmark. Um, how big is that in the
That's
industry?
massive.
Like internally, when you guys talk about Dr. Crane, and then you get, are there, because I don't know, relatively speaking, I don't know if other people who are watching or listening know it, but are other people out there beating graphite maybe with their own, maybe not with that, not with silicon, but with other materials? Are they
So
beating
you can't
graphite
you
by
can't
these wide margins, or are you sitting in rarefied air?
I believe from the information we have, we're sitting in sort of rarefied air, because although we haven't officially validated, we're sort of record with regard to 18650 batteries. And by the way, okay, I know that the future of the batteries is going to bigger size battery. All right. Now that will not affect us at all. Okay, because in a certain way it's going to be a different recipes, but it's the same material that we're going to put in, and we're going to end up getting the same results. So we fully expect that what we do at 1850 can be done in 2700, and then the other size of batteries where people are going into it. So, we're not stuck on only the 18650 batteries. So that's one thing. Um, so I just got lost for trail. Please repeat your question, sir.
Well, what I said was, relatively speaking,
Oh yeah,
that
okay,
thirty
okay. Yeah,
percent, you know,
I was thinking of, I was entering something else in the
anybody else
middle.
out there, that's
Yeah,
beating
yeah, yeah.
graphite by 30, but they're doing it their own way, maybe not with silicon, but with something else.
Not that I heard of, and I think might be good for me to explain what do we mean by this. Okay, so whenever our battery delivers better performance, what that means is you get more electricity out of the same battery. Okay, so what we've done, and we're comparing it to high grade artificial graphite, because that seems to be a question a lot of people are coming into it. What type of graphite you put into it? Well, it's high grade artificial graphite. So it's the material that's been used in the industry, very good graphite batteries. And what you end up doing is calculating how much more energy, okay, this battery made with our silicon-anode material will allow you to carry and return and use over the life cycle of 650 tests. Okay. So that what that basically tells you is that our battery will give you 30% more energy, 30% more ampere hours, okay, over 650 tests than the graphite batteries. So there's different ways of looking at it. Maybe instead of if weight is an issue, okay, then to have the same distance, you can remove 30% of the batteries and replace it by ours. And then you have a lighter situation. This is where it's really critical because that's the key point. That's how you improve. That's how you reduce the cost per watt by basically having, for the same size battery, more energy into it. Okay, so that's why it's really significant. But the number really becomes important once, first of all, once you go after 500 cycle, once you go to 650 cycle, then it starts to demonstrate how big those report is. So in a certain way, when we started these tests, okay, we were 30% better than our graphite batteries, and then over time, you know, as the capacity degraded a bit on our batteries, okay, our instantaneous comparison went down. But when you look at the overall entire pictures, it stayed at 30%, which is phenomenal. Okay. So that basically means that, you know, our batteries over its life cycle is going to give you 30% more energy. It's like a Duracell plus 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 or Energizer Bunny plus plus plus. You know, our Energizer Bunny regular and the Energizer Bunny with 30% plus. If Energizer Bunny was selling rechargeable batteries, but they're not.
Now that's the capacity side. The
Mm-hmm.
other side of this coin is the degradation.
Mm-hmm.
And you've said this a couple of times. And analysis suggests, and this time it's 13%, not 10, but analysis
Mm-hmm.
suggests that minor process modifications could reduce degradation by 13%. I think up until now you've been saying 10%.
Yeah, but
Question
this
for
time I
you.
was able to calculate
Why
it.
not make those minor process modifications and see how much more you could reduce the
Okay.
degradation? Why not get that out of the way?
Yes. It'll be done in the next series of batteries. So what happens when you do these type of batteries is you do prototype batteries. Okay. So and to get an accurate number, okay, you run a batch of 3 to get the average. Right? That's how it works. Now, what happened in this specific case, and it happens sometimes because it's fully to be expected because we're using a prototype system. It's not a high the quality control is not the same as what we're gonna have a commercial material. So it happens over time that maybe one battery starts to short circuit. So that one batteries basically drags down the averages of the two other. Okay. So you fundamentally know there's one issue in one battery. When the testing is going to be finished, we're going to test it, figure it out. This is aha, this is a small difference we got to fix. So the reason why we go with these numbers is very simple. Is because we have the test result of the 3 batteries, and since we've always talked about the 3 batteries, it wouldn't be correct for us to change it in the middle of the presentation. So we keep talking about the 3 batteries, but then we also have the results of the 2 batteries, so we know exactly where they are. So that's how we know the difference. And it's completely normal and expected into these issues, you know. So that's why we know exactly how we can improve the batteries, what's going to be what's the issue, resolving this, how we're going to get this to be done. That's
So how far do you go now, Bernard? Do you aim for Gen 4 and 750 cycles? I know Dr. Graham has mentioned 1,000 cycles. I think on the
Mhm.
last interview about this topic, we talked about 1,000 cycles. When you get to that point where you're saying when you're really starting to field solid expressions of interest from the marketplace.
Okay. We were having this type of discussion internally. Okay, we already have demands for people that are interested in our Gen 3 type of material, and Gen 4 comes into it. At one point, there's sort of a law of diminished return of us about talking about additional improvement, but
Yeah,
for the
that's
first
exactly why I asked that question. It's like you're
no,
you're already
so
over the threshold.
we're already over the threshold now. Now that we have all those issues down, we get the interest from. This is why we signed the MOU with the guys in Germany. Okay, everybody is interested in having people that understand how you can make SiOx or SiOx base or advanced silicon-anode material for batteries. All right. So now it's going to be for us the job to start building the capacity to do it, demonstrate we can do it, how we can scale it up, and then basically get partners in to help us where we're going to become more licensing and technology partner to get it going and getting moving. And that's what we want to do. So this was lab scale. Probably we might end up doing another 2 to try to see how it moves. But because we've done one long cycle, we'll get pretty comfortable about where we come up with the results. And we might not come up with as much as regular type of news release about this. Because I'm hoping next year is going to be mostly, at the beginning, at least Fumed Silica news coming on purpose. So we'll be able to go back and work more discreetly on our batteries and come back.
And is this a couple more Gen 3, or at this point, do you go Gen 4, run a couple there, and then call it a day?
Well, in those type of R&Ds, you really never call it a day because you can always make it better as long as you don't change the process of all what we're doing. In a certain way, we're calling it a day because not calling it a day. We know basically how to stop down to build a pilot plan to get those materials done. Okay. And then as we do incremental improvement, it will always be designed so it doesn't require all new plant and all new manufacturing process. So everything is designed to be incrementally improving the system and the batteries. So the key point is for us, Gen 3 is giving us a lot of information. Okay. We're ready to go to Gen 4 now because we were waiting a lot of the results of the Gen 3 to come out. Okay. And then from then on, we'll start moving on. We're going to be more focused on probably lining up everything to do the pilot plant so we can start partnering up also with other battery manufacturers and graphite manufacturers to work together.
Yeah, there's no doubt. Look, in all tech, whatever it is, it keeps getting improved. Of course not. So
Mm-hmm.
when I meant cutoff, I meant where do you get to that point where you have an MVP, your minimum viable product, where this
We
is
already
good
have a
enough to go
minimum
to
viable
market.
product.
Yeah.
We already have
So
we already have a minimum viable project in a sense, but it's at lab scale. Okay. Now we got to start to do the process to build up. Going back to the fume silica experience. Okay. This is like when
which
we
we're going to
sent.
talk about at the end of
Yeah.
this
We'll talk
interview.
about, but going back to the fume silica. Okay. Remember when we did the first material of fume silica, we showed some pictures into it, and some people out there were sort of laughing at us for showing pictures. And eventually, it moved on to the point where we signed an LOI with Evonik. Same thing is happening in the battery space. Okay. So that's the way I'm sort of seeing it into it. We already do have a material that could become commercial, but there's not too many people that do the SiOX type of material, the advanced silicone materials. There's not too many people doing this. In Canada, I think we're the only one. There's other companies that do a little bit of material to improve the batteries, to put a little bit into it to get it to doing, but we're pushing it. I think there's 3 other companies. Yes, there's Group 14 doing it. There's Scylla doing it, but they're all using very expensive process. Okay. I think I said that in the last interviews. I think in the last 2 months, I got approached by 2 merchant bank saying, we have this great technology to make nanopart silicone for batteries and showing interest into it. But, the financing, the people behind it are not interested in finding it anymore. And then you start to do a bit of research on their patent, and you realize, well, their process is going to be too expensive. So our idea is low cost manufacturing, improving the batteries, making it better.
All right, switching gears. The
Yes.
other news is the uh, shares for debt settlement with
Mm-hmm.
Pyrogenesis,
Mm-hmm.
4.94 million. I'm going to round it up to 5, just to make life easy. And that 5 million was for late royalty payments, IP acquisitions, and development activities. All right.
Starting in
So you're
Q2
issuing,
through Q3 2022. So this has been on our book for a long time.
yeah. So why the end of 2024? Do it, and I'm not complaining about it, but why? Devil's advocate, someone could say, well, why don't you guys get this done? 3-4 months from now, when presumably fume silica and all those things are advancing, and maybe you have a higher share price. Why do it now? Which is at a premium, but still, well, why now?
Both Pyro and HPQ were sort of running to in a hard deadline, which is called the end of your fiscal year. Okay. And a lot of the analysis is done based on your audited financial statements.
What
So,
analysis? When you say the analysis,
well,
whose
the
analysis?
investor analysis, the key documents going to come up is the audited financial statements. Okay. So if we would have extended this in January, that means that our audited financial statement for the end of the year will still have shown a negative working capital, negative equity. So that's sort of a negative when you talk to investors, because new investors that want to put in money because they like what you're doing do not want to put money into the company to pay off your old debt. That's a no-no. They're not interested to that. And their argument is, hey, get the guy to take shares into it, get a bit of premium. So that's the same thing. And for Pyrogenesis, which has sort of been supportive of us because we sort of understood how we both got into this position. Basically for them, they also wanted to clear up their account receivable. Okay. Because at one point, if you have a 3-year-old account receivable, it has zero value in your book.
Yeah.
But if you notice that if you get shares in the company, you then have an asset on the other side of the ledger. So it's a question of uh, housekeeping in a certain way. Strategic plays into it. And as I wrote in the press release, we were resolving contention point that was there with people that were talking for financing. Okay.
So hold on. So the quote is, because I was going to bring that up, because
Okay.
okay, is
I'll
this
let you.
the? It also resolves points of contention raised by potential financial partners or future offtake agreement counterparts.
Mhm.
So is that actually been brought up by somebody, or are you anticipating if we call George Comp Capital in February, March, they're going to want to see a clean balance sheet,
Oh,
or was that a sticking point right now of potential
mhm.
funders and offtake agreement counterparts?
Yeah, that was a sticking point. I can even tell you an example of a financier that we both know, that we know, not that we highly respect, but still, you know who I'm talking about. And he made a big show about that and saying, you're never going to be able to raise any money because of that situation in your book. Not that I think, but so that's a line of questioning and of discussion that was there. Okay. And it's mutually beneficial for both parties to find the best way to resolve it. Is this the ultimate way to resolve it? No. Is this the ultimate timing to resolve it? No, but this was the time to do it. Because for me, when I'm having discussion with financial institution, a group that want to come into it, first thing they do is they take a look at your balance sheet and they
Yeah,
say,
of
well,
course.
you know, it's like even having director's insurance is affected by this. So at one point, it becomes very, very important just to get her done and get it going and get it out of the way. Um, if you look at the overall strategy of this, I think on the long term is going to be good. Okay, this is not our first deal we've done with Pyro. At one point, it was excellent. I remember the first deal we did for debt for share. The stock took off afterward, and unfortunately, for a series of unregistered event, and I think Peter will agree to this. He never really wanted to sell the shares. Well, anyway, that's what he tells me. I do understand, but he was obligated to because we have fiduciary responsibility. Same thing from our board. We have fiduciary responsibility. Okay, and having such a liability on your book does create a problem. And if you're going to resolve it, there's no logic for me to try to resolve it in January because then I'll be stuck with 12 months of still having the audited financial statement being negative. So it's it's really why the question of timing was now.
It's no secret because you've referred to it in press releases in the past and interviews in the past that you are having discussions. I don't know how you want to. I don't want to improperly phrase it with Evonik about a potential future offtake agreement.
Mhm.
And you've said that your position is wait until you've got a little more until you're actually producing the pilot plant. So when you say or future offtake agreement counterparts, can I ask if potentially that's even though is that potentially Evonik that brought that up?
That's part of all the discussion because once we start going down the nitty gritty, okay, then people look at the positive, optimist, what's going to happen, what type of strategy, okay. So then it's going to be the decision, could they invest in HPQ or the subsidiary and those type of discussion. And we're probably gonna have this discussion. We're going to continue to have those discussions. We're probably with Evonik and others that could demonstrate an interest in the middle of it. I have people that are interested in having plants built internationally, and that will come into it. So it's just a question of let's how can I say this? Let's just rip the band-aid off and do it.
All right. All right, fair enough. And since we're talking about Evonik, or at least I brought them up conveniently. Fumed silica. I
Mhm.
believe PowerGenesis kind of put out an update about fumed silica and the reactor. Um, you want to comment on that? Actually, give us some specifics as to what was said and provide
Um,
some commentary on that.
well, I'm actually very happy that for once it's them that said it, not, me for HPQ saying I was told. So they issued this one is, and also I think people should wake up to the timing that we know that from January on, the machine's going to be on. We're going to be making material, and then we're going to start that book. I just like just today I had because I had a bad flu and I don't want to get people sick. I had sort of virtual tour of the plant. Everything looks ready to go, ready to really moving. They've done a phenomenal job because I remembered seeing it a few weeks ago, and there was a few things that still needed to be done. It's really ready to down to go. I think they need one last thing to do, and then it's ready to go and rock and roll, and it's going to be good. I'm very excited. So, you know, timing sometimes is
That was
difficult,
the
but it's
one
there.
Christmas present was hoping to have under the tree, which is,
Trust me, it's the
before
same
Christmas.
one I was hoping to give to my shareholders because I would give it to myself. Okay. It's if there's anything that I'm sort of like disappointed and sad about this year is the time it took to get us where we are here. Okay. I would have hoped that we would have been a bit earlier here. But that's a bit the R&D game when you're building a first of its kind machine. Uh,
But Pyro in their press release had said January, right? I haven't read it. I want to be honest because I've been flying all over the place. Um, but is that the
a
statement? Is that
process
the statement
material
that
test commencing in January 2025. Now, when in January 2025, I think we've learned from experience, not try to put a date, but from what I've seen from my virtual visit today, makes me very confident that it's on the right direction.
all right, and you're wearing your Christmas shirt today. So I think
Over my jacket, so it's sort of like mixed serious and happiness. For me, it's not yet time for me to pull out the champagne in the Christmas, and I truly do hope that 2025 is really going to be our year. 2024 was a year of great achievements in a
oh boy.
complicated overall market and complicated situation, but I think we've accomplished a lot of our goals. I think 2025 there's a lot of things coming because I've been in ongoing discussion with financial people that are interested in what we're doing, and they do compliment me on executing what we're doing. But I do understand, and I don't want to minimize this. I do understand that for some people, their analysis of what's going on is a share price. I know it's not the right one, but it is one. In this regard, I think we still have things to do in that regard, but I strongly believe that we have the material to do it.
And I'm off to London next for Christmas. So it
I'm
sounds
not
like I'm
planning. I'm not
safe. It
planning on
sounds like I'm
disturbing you.
safe because the
Yes.
indicator doesn't work during Christmas and the couple of days afterwards.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah,
Well, Tuesday's Christmas Eve. You're not going to put up press release on Tuesday. Wednesday's Christmas, right? Am I right about that?
I believe
Wednesday's
so.
Christmas. Thursday's
Thursday is
Boxing Day,
Boxing Day.
and you're not going to put out a press release on Friday. I don't think, anyways. So am I
No, I did
safe?
it. I did it once. I thought it was going to be good, but it wasn't good. So I will not do it again Friday press release.
All right, but hey, great year. I don't know if we're gonna have a New Year's conversation or not, but uh, great
Well,
year. And
we're gonna have it. I can say this. We're definitely going to talk next year.
yeah, I sure hope so. I sure hope so. But thanks, Bernard. Thanks for talking to everybody. And again, another great advancement on the silicon-anode battery side. That's a fantastic advancement. And if it gets us that much closer to the grant, even better. Let's hope that whatever consternation is taking place with Justin. I mean, I don't think Singh's going to call an election until February 25th. I think that's when his pension crystallizes. So you got a couple months to try and make that grant happen, and at least with some certainty.
Mhm.
But otherwise, great advancement on the 650 cycles on the Gen 3, my friend.
Thank you, and I want to take this opportunity to wish every shareholder and everybody watching us the best wishes for Christmas and the New Year.
Yeah.
Please
Well,
deliver
likewise,
their
I think
family.
I speak on behalf of everyone saying happy Merry Christmas to you and your family, Bernard, and see you in the new year, my friend.
Yep.
And to everybody at home, thanks for joining us as always. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, and whatever you're celebrating. And let's look forward to a great 2025. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Have a great day, great holidays. See you next time.
Hey Small Cap fam, I hope you loved this interview because more than a dozen people were involved in its production for the sole purpose of making you happy. If so, can you take a moment to support both our awesome guest company and Agora.com? Your engagement means the world to us. First, if you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up by tapping that like button. It's a small gesture that helps this interview reach even more potential investors to discover today's guest. Second, we would love to hear your feedback on this interview, so please leave a comment below. Be sure to keep it clean, but feel free to poke fun at George. If you loved what you heard on today's video and want to dig into our guest company right away, take a look at the links in the description below. And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to never miss another great Agora.com small cap video. Thank you so much. We couldn't do any of this without you. Make sure to come back soon.